I'm going to tell you about a multi-million-dollar deal that I did, and I used 3 very basic principles to close it. If you've ever fumbled a negotiation, I know I have, you really just need some structure to help you get past the procrastination and the trepidation that you normally feel. This easy to master skill set will not only help you boost your confidence, but also set you apart from your colleagues. Say goodbye to your fear of making mistakes. We're gonna turn negotiating into a skill you can own. If you're new to negotiating, I would recommend doing it via email. The reason for this is it's gonna be a lot less pressure on you. You're gonna have more time to think. You can reference back to it in future negotiations, which can be really helpful. So, all right, let's get into it. So step 1 is the pre-game. This is gathering information before you actually dive into the negotiation. This is super important, probably one of the most overlooked pieces of negotiating. I'm gonna use a real partner example, but just to keep them anonymous, I'm gonna call them Vixie Enterprises. My dog's name is Vixie, so we'll use that, and then I can walk you through like the actual details of the deal. So to gather information about the situation and the partner that I wanted to work with, I watched some marketing videos of theirs. I went to their website, checked out their products and how those work. I looked at the competition that they were currently using that was competing with us. And so I got a really good framework and understanding of where they were at currently before I even approached them. Now, at this stage in the pregame, you need to decide what you want. So it's super important to actually know what you're trying to get out of a negotiation. And for me, it was, I wanted to do a partnership with this party, Vixie Enterprises. I wanted to do a profit split with them. I wanted it to be a multi-year deal. I wanted them to provide some marketing resources like influencer videos and things like that. And lastly, when you're pre-gaming, you need to make sure you have the right stakeholders as part of the conversation. So for this example, I went directly to the CEO, and they actually introduced me to the head of marketing. And that was extremely useful because that was actually the decision maker, but now I also have top-down support from the CEO when I'm putting together this deal. Don't hesitate to bring in finance, the person's manager that you're talking to, anybody that you need to get the deal done, pull them into the conversation so that you don't take months and months to get the negotiation on track. The second key to negotiating is having a pace car to compare the negotiation with. So that might be a similar company to the company that I'm working with, Vixie Enterprises. What I did is I compared this deal to a similar deal that I had done in the past. I'm able to share things like the dollar amount generated from that deal, the company retention increase that that partner saw, as well as deal terms. And just like this, I might anonymize it, but I am able to share those details so that the incoming partner knows that they're getting something on par to what someone else is getting. You can use this same concept for a similar job offers is really common one. Vendor quotes. So you could say, you know, I'm looking at this software and there's really similar software that gave me this quote, and you can kind of bid them against each other. So it's really important to have a comparable and be able to leverage that in the conversation. Number 3 is quid pro quo, which essentially means if you do this, I'll do that. You want to create win-win scenarios and make sure that your email or your negotiation isn't all teeth. You actually are giving them something as well in return for what you're asking. Vixie Enterprises, for example, they wanted a higher percent of the profit share than what I originally offered them and what I typically offer, but they were actually willing to do a lot more of the marketing lift as well. So this was a quid pro quo where I said, okay, yes, if you do more of the marketing, then I will take a lower cut of the profit share. So you can really find ways to make it a win-win scenario if you're using the quid pro quo. Everyone's heard of asking for more than what you you want. And I'm just gonna explain like why you do that in a negotiation. It's so that you have something to give when you're negotiating. I was able to make that trade for marketing versus profit sharing because I actually would get some value out of the marketing, and that allows me to like back down on the profit share. I do this all the time with vendors where I ask for 60% off and I'm really hoping for 40% off. You don't want to go overboard with your anchor because then they're, going to flip the table and say this isn't realistic and, we don't think we're going to come to terms. But if you go a little bit further than what you're expecting, then when you come towards each other, towards the middle, there's room for both of you to give. So the top items that I personally quid pro quo with are payment terms. So you could prepay or pay in net 60, just really playing around with what's gonna make the most sense, what works for you, what works for them, and what's like an ideal scenario. Contract length. So for this example, we met in the middle at 2 years, and that was with a renewal. So I'm doing a little bit of nibbling there and making sure that I'm getting as close to the 3 years that I wanted, while also taking into account that they really only wanted a 1-year agreement. So we kind of met in the middle. Exclusivity can be a really great one to bring into the mix. For this example, we were exclusive on our end, but it was not the other way around, which meant they were exclusively using us, but we were not exclusively working with them. In that case, it made a lot of sense, but it could be different in different situations. Delivery date, financing, quality, level of service, support, future business. These are all really great ways to quid pro quo, and you can just essentially use those different pieces of the terms that you're agreeing on to say, I'll give on this one if you give on this one type thing. And future business is actually one that I love because a lot of times you can get away with not actually putting that in a contract or agreement. Ultimately, you are saying we'd love to use you for future business, and that does hold some weight. All right, so those are the 3 areas. I will leave you with the words of wisdom. Don't overcomplicate negotiating. You simply need to pregame, find a pace car, and quid pro quo, and you will get the best results. Try it out the next time you're signing up with a vendor, selling your products, or maybe changing jobs. A little practice goes a long way. If you want to take your negotiating skills to the next level, you can download my Mastering Negotiation worksheet in the description. I'll give you email templates and even more tips and tricks that I just didn't have time for today. Thanks guys, see you soon.